What up, guys? It's your boy Quake and Jimmy Iovine. For those that don't know, Jimmy Iovine was the former CEO of Interscope Records, and recently he's been on a promo run to promote his 4-part documentary series with Dr. Dre called The Defiant Ones. In this series, they're basically going over the history between Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, their relationship from music to business. But while on the promo run, Jimmy Iovine got asked about 50 Cent and why he dislikes him. Now, in the interview, he basically says he does not dislike 50 Cent. He just said he gave him a hard time, joking around with him and saying that 50 would always run things and run his mouth, and just business would be, difficult with 50 sometimes. And then he said something really interesting in the interview, and I believe 50 credited him for this, kind of loosely credited him for this, but Jimmy Iovine in this interview seems like he just ran off with this and basically said he gave the idea for 50 Cent to go into television, basically saying, hey, if it wasn't for my idea, 50 Cent wouldn't have the success he's having with the TV series Power.
I don't dislike 50 Cent. Never stopped liking 50 Cent at whatsoever. He came to my office and this is what I said. I said, 50, I'm not even sure if I like you, but because he wished to give me a hard time. I said, but I'm gonna give you a great idea. You need to get into television. And he recently has said that day that I said that to him is one of the days that inspired him to do television. But it was meant more as a joke. He said, I said, I don't like you. I said, no. I said, I'm not sure if I even like you, because he's one of those guys that just, drive you nuts. But I dig him, man. We had a lot of success together. When I have a lot of success with somebody, I'm not gonna dislike them. There's no chance. He's a funny guy.
Power right now is the #1 show on Stars. Stars wasn't a big premium cable channel. I believe it was #2 or #3. HBO was like #1, and I don't know what was #2. It could have been Encore, it could have been something else. But yeah, Stars wasn't a big channel when 50 got there, but 50 brought Power there, and Power ended up exploding. Now it's the #1 show on Stars and the #2 show overall on premium cable. It's right behind Game of Thrones. So clearly he's had huge success with that. And in this interview, it was just interesting to see Jimmy Iovine take credit for that, saying that he gave 50 the idea to get into television. Now, for those that don't know, they've had beef, sort of beef, I guess you can call it, behind the scenes beef. 50's had issues with Jimmy Iovine, and I kind of, that's where I feel like 50 got blackballed in music after his issues with Jimmy Iovine, because at the time, Jimmy Iovine was the CEO of Interscope. Interscope was one of the biggest record labels at one point. You had Eminem, 50, Dre, Game, Kendrick now is on there. Just people, Tupac, a bunch of people that were just selling millions and millions of records. Aftermath at one point was just this unstoppable machine. And at that point, 50 Cent was making up for about 60% of the success of the black music at Interscope. And around 2007 is when the issues, I believe, started happening with Jimmy Iovine and 50 Cent. Because if you don't remember, in 2007, the competition between Kanye West and 50 Cent happened, and 50 was always in almost every interview voicing his frustration with Interscope and how they're waiting on 50 Cent and never doing the work and promoting his album. And sometimes he blames the label for losing to Kanye West because they didn't do any work. Dr. Dre was completely out. Eminem was on drugs, battling a drug problem, so nobody was helping him, not even Jimmy Iovine, in terms of promoting the album, distributing, all kinds of promotional things all over, getting him on all kinds of TV shows, stuff like that.
It's something new. Every time it's something new, so it's exciting. My company is not proactive, they're reactive, so they watch whatever I'm doing, I make happen, so we'll have conference calls and staff meetings, and this album, the actual release of this record wasn't pleasant for me.
So that's, I feel like, where the issues started happening. And then 50 on the record Southside on G-Unit Radio Part 25, Sabrina's Baby Boy, basically at the end of the record, he said, fuck Jimmy Iovine, I don't have a boss, he's not my boss.
Niggas think Jimmy Iovine my boss. Nigga, fuck Jimmy Iovine, nigga. I'm from 134th Street, nigga. I ain't got no motherfucking boss.
So that's where it became public that Jimmy Iovine and 50 are really having issues. And then Interscope really just stopped fucking with 50 in general after that. Before I Self-Destruct came out, really barely any promo was put into that. The album sort of flopped on 50 standards. I mean, in today's standards, it would be great in sales. It did like 160,000 the first week, which was great. But at that time in 2009, it's all right. It's not that good. And then later on, 50 Cent launched his own headphone company, SMS Audio, which at the time was terrible and an infliction on Interscope, because Interscope was pushing Beats by Dre. It was all over. Anything Interscope related was Beats by Dre. So with 50 releasing the competitor to Beats by Dre, obviously Jimmy Iovine didn't like that. He wanted to go against it. When 50 tried to promote his headphones in his music videos while he was signed to Interscope, they wouldn't allow him. They even blurred out his SMS Audio hat in the My Life video with Eminem and Adam Levine.
Interscope is Beats Records. Like, there's no artist that has a marketing budget supporting what they're actually doing that doesn't have Beats headphones in the actual the visual to support that actual brand or that company. So when I invested in SMS Audio, it kind of made people so afraid of feeling like that they would actually be fired if maybe they did something wrong. Like if they came back with my music video, they only had one specific direction when we shot My Life, was to not let me shoot with my actual headsets in the music video. And I didn't understand why would that one music video have so much value, or it just felt like it was I don't know if they gave specific marching orders or if the staff was so afraid because of what they've seen from other situations, but it definitely was a conflict and created like negative energy for me. Like I actually had a hat that said SMS, and when they brought the video back from the actual cut, they blurred my hat out my hat, my clothes, and that regularly was going to tell me what clothes to wear. And it kind of got to a point that it was like, I need to get out of here and y'all need to just go do what y'all doing with this, because it was too much of a priority to Beats with the actual record.
So they were blocking everything in terms of whether a record was sticking. That's why I feel like when he dropped We Up with Kendrick Lamar, that record should have took off easily. I mean, that record was a hit easily. But I feel like Jimmy Iovine blocked it from promotion, because record labels have a lot of power and they can stop radios from playing you. They can do a lot of things. I mean, organically you can grow a record, but if you're blackballed from every big radio station from bumping your music, it's going to affect you somewhat. And it's not on TV shows. Nobody's promoting it. So those records, all those records at the time that he released from 2011 to 2013, all flopped, I believe, because of Jimmy Iovine. And then when 50 left Interscope, promoted his SMS Audio, dropped Animal Ambition, it did pretty well. And now that he's completely free for them, he ended up dropping the Kanan tape. And off that tape spawned a single, I'm the Man, that went gold with no record label independently. So if he can go gold independently, clearly while he was on Interscope, something was going on behind the scenes that didn't allow him to succeed musically. So that's just a rumor, though. We don't know 100%. But I mean, publicly, there's some things said back and forth. And clearly, if you have a competitor headphone company, you're not going to allow them to promote their stuff on your record label. So that's just a brief history and beef between Jimmy Iovine and 50 Cent. But yeah, I found that clip. It was interesting, so I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it. Do you guys think Jimmy Iovine really gave 50 the idea for heading into TV? Because I believe 50 mentioned and gave props to Jimmy Iovine. I think it was on Instagram for saying that Jimmy Iovine was the one who suggested to do this. But I feel like Jimmy is just taking too much credit for it. And I feel like they're still not cool with each other. Jimmy Iovine just said he's cool just because he doesn't want more problems, because he's not in record labels anymore. He's with Apple, working on Apple Music. So that's just a brief history between Jimmy Iovine and 50 Cent. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think 50 Cent's going to respond to this and give props to Jimmy Iovine? Do you guys think he's going to say fuck Jimmy Iovine again for trying to take props? And do you guys feel like Jimmy Iovine was the one who blocked 50's music success? Or do you feel like 50, he's a big enough star that even if Jimmy Iovine tried to blackball him, he could still become, successful in music? So leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.